And that was Devil's Deck by my guests, Coney Hatch. And with me right now, I've got Carl Dixon from Coney Hatch. Carl, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Sam.
Now, Coney Hatch is a very cool Canadian band. Now, for me, I'm not a real rocker until I hit about the time that you guys formed in 1982. So for me, it was bands like for me, I liked Saga, I liked Coney Hatch, I liked Brighton Rock, um, bands of that nature that were doing the bar circuits, that were doing some big shows, that had some records out, that sort of thing, so that I could listen to them when I wanted to. And people who were, I guess, in my eyes, they were all about the music.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I find about bands like yourselves. Like how do you look at yourselves? Do you look at a band that is about the music, or do you look at a band that is about the atmosphere of the music?
Well, I think to, di- about the music is the short answer. We had an amazing combination of four different musical talents that came from very different places. And you combine those, and that's what made Coney Hatch, our different influences. Uh, four young guys playing guitars and drums. We felt that rock music, of course, is going to be the thing, and heavy rock was a natural extension of just how we thought about ourselves, our identities as, strong young men playing masculine music. I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
There were times in that with singing for that band that I felt like I was a tank commander with this unstoppable machine that I was, at the front of as it rolled over all opposition.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the beauty of the music of that time, I find anyway, is that it is like a machine. It has a longevity, it has a staying power. When you guys formed the band, is that something you were conscious of? Or were you just hoping to make music as long as you can, have as much fun as you can, and enjoy the ride as long as it lasted?
Uh, all of the above, except in my own case, I wasn't so focused on the fun. I was taking things rather too seriously in those days. I felt like I had to be the responsible one, you know, but that didn't mean I wasn't having any fun. But certainly, we we had in mind creating music to the very highest standard of which we were capable, and that's why it still lasts. I think, we weren't writing throwaway songs about nothing. Come on, let's party. That, although some of that lasts too, I guess. But we were working to a very high standard, an exacting standard on ourselves, and we worked with very good producers who brought the best out of us that we could do at that time. So between our starting point and the people that got onto the page with us, we really crafted something that I enjoy listening to still after all these years. We were young, very young then. We were 21, 22 when we started making records. But and we make different and in some ways better records now, but we really did enjoy what we were doing, and we wanted to, yeah, I'm still doing it all these years later. So I had the idea I want to do this for a long time, sure.
Now, one of the things that I noticed was in reading a little bit about the band and that sort of thing and doing my research is that your first album was produced by another very music oriented producer, Kim Mitchell.
Yes.
How was it to work with Kim, and does his music resonate with you in any way?
All of us in Ontario, Southern Ontario, and Canada, I'll broaden the brush. We're very big fans of Max Webster. There was just something awfully Canadian about it, awfully clever, high skilled. Certainly that relates to what I was saying about our own approach. the excellence with which they played their instruments and wrote their songs. A lot of people thought it was like Frank Zappa, Canada's Frank Zappa almost, because it was so almost difficult at times. But so that helped us. Kim related to us when he first saw us. He came out and saw us playing at one of our early shows, bar shows together. And he said, "Oh, I want to get involved in this." And he's a great guy, really fun and relatable. And he just got into taking the younger guys under his wing and teaching us the things that he had learned about making records and uh, how to get your guitar ready for making a proper recording and to choose the right amps when you're in the studio, and so many detailed things that we hadn't a clue about until he helped us.
Now, that's one of the things, you expressed that he was a bit of an influence to you, and you are right. He is an influence to rock bands all across Canada that I've talked to have mentioned him as an influence to them, as somebody they look up to, that sort of thing. Other than Kim Mitchell, who influenced you to get into rock and roll?
Uh, my love of the music itself was what spurred me on, and I was playing instruments since I was 3 years old, 4 years old. And it was just a natural, my molecules are arranged to express myself through music, I guess. I always have, from the time I could walk. My kindergarten report card said, "Carl has a lovely singing voice and an excellent sense of rhythm," as one of the comments.
That's
So
awesome.
I was in piano first, and then guitar, and then drums, and then I started singing in bands when I was 15 and working bars when I was 16. And it was all because I felt the popular music and the rock music that was exploding on the scene when I was a young fella. I felt it so deeply. I felt that, oh man, like we all did as fans of the music, but I was looking at it from a different perspective of, oh, I this makes me feel like I want to do that. When we used to have high school bands, popular bands would get hired to come and play the high school dances. And people you'd hear on the radio, if you're from Ontario, you would remember Flood and A
Yep.
Foot in Cold Water, and April Wine played my high school when I was a kid. Many years later, I ended up in the band, which is, one of those funny cycles
Yeah.
of having a long career. But some girls that I knew used to watch me at these shows, and they said, "Carl doesn't go to watch the band. Carl goes to be with the band." That's the feeling I had, that I was, one step removed from being in the midst of it. So I kept developing my skills and building one band after another that would get me closer to the Magic Kingdom, as I like to call it.
See, I'm that guy. I have zero talent. I can't play an instrument. I can't sing. I will sing, but I can't sing. And I'm of the theory that those that can do, those that can't DJ radio shows. So here I am.
I always say somebody has to be the fan, somebody has to be
Exactly.
the audience.
But I have such a high respect for the bands that play um, and the hard work that goes into it, because a lot of people think that it's Friday night, they get their gig, they show up at a gig, they set up, they play, they go home. It's not like that at all. Um, and,
No.
and and I know it's not for bands like you, April Wine, Glass Tiger, just to name a few. And it's because of the hard work that you guys go through with rehearsal, practice, recording, touring. It takes away a lot of your life, so to speak, but it is kind of your life as well. And it gives you the rewards down the road. Like in 1983, you guys toured with Iron Maiden, and
Yes.
that had to be just one of the best pat on the backs that you could get, to be with somebody of that ilk and to show that you belong. That must have been a great feeling for the band at the time.
It was. It was actually up a step from our first album. The previous year, we had done 28 dates around Canada and the US with Judas Priest as their opening act. In all the hot
Wow.
NHL rinks and the big venues, they were just starting to hit the big level with their Screaming for Vengeance album. So that was 82 with Judas Priest, then 40 or so dates with Iron Maiden the next year. You can imagine we started to feel like, okay, this is where we are now. This is our circuit. We will just keep on doing this and keep on being there. So it was affirming and confidence building, and the the certainly the reward at a certain level for all the work it's taken to get even that far.
Now, you said that you had the opportunity to play in a lot of NHL rinks. You had an opportunity to play in small clubs and bars. You had a chance to play some bigger shows, festivals, that sort of thing. Do you have a preference on what you play, like where you play?
Mm, I have a preference only in with regards to how the arrangements are generally made. Um, I love all audiences of any size because, you deliver a different show to a crowd of 40,000 than you do to a crowd of 400 or 100, depending on the kind of thing
Right.
you're doing. It's a totally different experience for the performer and the audience. And if, as a performer, you're not making it a different experience for them, you're not really in the moment. You're just delivering the same thing you do everywhere. For me, I love the smaller venues and the ways to really connect with individuals rather than just a sea of people in front of you. But that also has this feeling of, ah, we're huge and you're huge and we're all huge together. Here's this big thing we're all doing. Yeah. That's what a stadium show feels like.
Yeah, and for me, with my gig as a radio show host, um, I know you have a set list of what you're going to do in the order and that sort of thing, and you may switch it up as the tour goes on, as the shows go on, you may switch it up a little bit. But for me, I find that I am a better host in the moment than if I record it or plan it, if that makes any sense. Is that how you guys go as well? Do you kind of live in the moment other than the set list?
Well, we certainly, yes, we observed how Judas Priest, in particular, on our big tour with them, they would say the same joke, not even joke, they would say the same lines at the same point in the show every time. After this song, we will all step to one side. In the middle of this song, we all stand here, choreographed and scripted. And we realized, okay, there's value in that consistency where you at least have a plan and you don't stand around like a sack of wet laundry. When you're supposed to be entertaining people, you have a plan that you're going to do things a certain way. But experience, and we have lots of that now as Coney Hatch, and our energy led us to certainly be present in the moment more and more as time went by. That's where you're a real performer, when you're responding to things that are happening in real time around you and play off it, not just, oh my God, now we collapse because this unexpected thing happened. No, no. You turn it into part of that night, a unique part of a night that people will only see that experience of how you respond to something going wrong or something going amazing or somebody jumping on the stage with you, or you fall off the stage and you get up laughing, or there's so many ways you can interact with an audience. And that's really, to me as a performer, the goal is to make every night a different experience for the people who came to see you.
Now, back in the 1980s, you released 3 albums, and they were Coney Hatch, Out of Hand, and Friction. And
Yes.
then you did Best of 3 back at 92, and then in 2013 you released 4,
Yes.
which works, I guess, after Best of 3. And you had some great songs that came out of those albums. Some of the ones that people are going to know, of course, are Devil's Deck, that we played before the interview. Hey Operator, Monkey Bars. Hey
Yes.
Operator actually went to number 19 in Canada, which is very cool.
Yeah.
Shake It, Fantasy, She's Gone, just to name a few songs.
The first time for
And
everything was a big single for us as well.
yes, um, and for you guys, for you as a band, um, that's got to make you feel good that those songs are still resonating today, uh, over when they first came out. Do you get a lot of requests at shows for specific songs, or do they just want to hear everything?
Certainly there are favorites, and there are some nights where you're into the second song and people are already yelling monkey bars. And I always have to say, yeah, 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 we'll get to it, we'll get to it. It's a long show. We'll get there. But there we are appreciative that these songs have stuck with people for so long, and they still feel good to play, and people still love to hear them and sing along. So the hard work we did at that time, but it didn't feel like hard work then. But I look back on it now and I realize we were working like rented mules at the time, and but it produced results that lasted. So you can't help but feel good about all of it.
Now the current formation of the band is Andy Curran, Dave Ketchum, Sean Kelly, and yourself.
Yeah.
Um, how is that working? Not in the sense of are you getting along and that sort of thing, but is there a lot of collaboration with Andy, Dave, and Sean, pitching ideas on things they'd like to try, things they think would be like good songs, good riffs, good lyrics, that sort of thing?
Andy and I have been the main songwriters since the band began. We are always generating new ideas. We collaborate better now than we ever did when we were young. When we were young, we were so competitive. We didn't want to show anybody else our idea till we thought it was perfect. So we do it on sneak away and work secretly. And when we think it's ready, then we show it to the other guys, and then they pitch in what they like to, how they want to add to it. Andy and I work much more collaboratively now, and Sean, since he's joined the band, has added so much value with his high level of skill. He's younger than us by about a dozen years, so he's always pushing us. Come on, guys, let's do more. Let's do some more new music, and so yeah, we've got plans for a new album, some to get started on that soon.
Nice. I'm looking
I say,
forward to
I
it.
said nothing. I say nothing.
Don't don't worry. I
Oh,
won't. I won't tell anybody. I
it's
promise.
just yeah, it's just us and whoever hears this. Yeah,
Yeah. So while we're talking about albums, let's talk about the current album,
yeah.
Postcards from Germany. What a cool album. Now, I was privileged, and I can never thank you guys enough, your management team, yourselves, for getting me a copy of the album and putting the cone of silence around it for me so that I could reveal it when it's time. And I had a chance to listen to it. It is a great album. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, okay. Postcard from Germany uh, is a cap. We captured our first ever show together on continental Europe. We'd been to England a couple of times before that. We never got over to Europe in the original days of the band when those albums were coming out. We had a few near misses of tours we were supposed to be on, one with Whitesnake that would have made a difference probably, and some other attempts. But the label never ultimately wanted to foot the bill for tour support for us to go over there. So we were so excited to finally get there to play a festival called the Heat Festival in Ludwigsburg, just outside Munich. And you can hear the excitement in us. We're finally in Germany, yeah! And so happy to be still playing our music and have people that the European fans, we didn't know how much they loved our stuff when in the old days. Nobody ever told us. It took 30 years for us to find out that we had an audience in Europe that loved us. So that was so great to have that opportunity in Germany, and we captured it on a recording, and it wasn't even a big plan to make an album. The guy who was running the festival told us, "Look, our sound man has a whole Pro Tools setup, recording setup attached to the soundboard. Give me €100 and a USB stick, and he'll record the show for you in case you ever want to do anything with it." And I said, yeah, I'll do that. So I gave him
No
a hundred
kidding.
euros and a USB stick, and he mailed it to me sometime later. And we started going through the tracks, and we realized, wow, we really caught lightning in a bottle that night. This is just it's just popping, crackling with energy, the performances of our songs. So we emphasized the songs from the Friction album more than normal because that was the big one in Europe from our catalog. And so we put that album together, and we had a couple of songs that had begun with roughed out with a bed track from earlier sessions. So Andy and I said, well, let's finish those, and maybe we can, we'll include them as bonus studio tracks on the live album to give more of an incentive to the buyers and the fans, and get a new excitement going about our band. So they turned out so well that one of them has become the single from the album. But the whole thing, I just smile when I listen to it now.
Yeah, when I received the album and I had an opportunity to sit and listen to it, I was like that too. I was like, wow, this is awesome. These guys are so tight today. This is a great album. And to me, it made it feel like it was planned. Like you guys had a plan in place for the album. And now I find out there was no plan.
That's just what we sounded like that night.
Yeah, it's like me when I was playing baseball and I'd pitch, I threw a 2-hitter and a 3-hitter in one weekend. And
Wow.
like everybody was asking me, like, so like what was your plan? They went, what plan? I went out, I stepped on the rubber, I threw the ball, they missed, we won. And that was the end of it. Is that basically
Yeah.
what it was for you guys? You went out to do what you do, to do it as best as you can, and let the chips fall where they may, and that's where they fell.
Yes, I didn't even tell the other guys that I made this arrangement to record the show, and I did my best to forget it, to forget that as soon as, we got on the stage. I was just there's a couple of points, if I was a perfectionist, I would say, well, gee, you can hear my overexcitement. I overshot the mark on a few of the high notes, and just going for it too hard. But on the other hand, as a friend of mine said, it sounds like just raw and real, and the energy is, coming off it really nicely. So I'll live with a few imperfect notes here and there for the sake of the vibe.
Yeah, and like I said, it was a great album. People have got to get it. It's available out now. Be sure and get yourselves a copy. It is well worth the price, and it's not even expensive. It's a great album. You're gonna love it. Check it out. We're gonna play one of the uh singles off it in just a little bit. But one other thing that I want to touch on is the crowd. The crowd at that venue, they seemed to me like a crowd that knew exactly who you were, and
Hmm.
they knew exactly why they were there to rock and roll, and they knew what they were getting into, and they just enjoyed themselves, and they made that album that much better.
Oh boy, yes. That's what it's like at shows in Europe. They are so engaged. They make a collective mob of positivity, of yes. You can hear them. They're going, hey, 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 hey,
Yeah.
hey, all together when the song starts, especially if it's one of their favorites. And just the excitement that you can hear rippling when we start one of the songs from the Friction album, for instance. So on the first mix, the mixing engineer that was working for us didn't quite catch on. He was looking for the sonic perfection, as engineers are such analytical, technical guys. and he minimized the audience noise. In fact, it sounded like he was trying to eliminate it. And I said, no, 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 no. We want to hear this show, the people, and
Yeah.
how they're interacting with us. That's the magic of the night.
Yeah, and just before I let you go, let's talk about the single "It's About a Girl."
Ah,
I'm going to play that at the end of this interview, and I look forward to finally debuting it. Um, and I'm not sure if you're aware today, you were the artist of the day. Coney Hatch was the Big Show artist of the day on our morning show, and we played a couple of your songs in the midst of the show and showcased you, let them know that you were going to be on today.
ah,
And it's basically Coney Hatch Day here. So tell us about the single, and then we will play it.
wonderful. Well, first of all, thanks for featuring us. Uh, we're grateful for everybody that gets behind our music. It's About a Girl is a song that I had kicking around, rattling around upstairs here for quite a while. The idea of it that men in particular, but women who also care what other women think, or it's about our mothers, it's about our, our sisters, it's about our girlfriends, it's about the object of our desire. We do all kinds of things just to impress a girl somewhere in the world, or get their attention on us. And so I had that starting thought in response to something I had been reading or observed, and I wrote, "It's about a girl. It's always about a girl." And I had this music idea that went bam, 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 ba bam, bam. So I had that in my head, and then I couldn't go any further with it. I couldn't figure out what the verses should be. I tried a bunch that I just didn't like, so I set it aside. Came back to it a few times. Still didn't get what I wanted. But then when we were doing this project, and we had Andy had one song, and I had this one ready to throw in. So I said to myself, okay, this is the time to finally get serious, buckle down, write what this song needs. And so with the gun to my head, essentially, get it done or it's not going to be in there. That's when I started to get really focused on, aha. And maybe the song needed that time to mature in my mind so I could write the words I really wanted to write. So finally, it was 15, 20 years hanging around in my brain before I finally finished it and produced it. And then the band just played a great track of it. And we got the vocals sounding good. And Andy and I have this blend between our voices after all these years that just sounds really nice when we do harmonies and vocals together. So I'm so pleased with the way it turned out. And I did a harmony solo, Thin Lizzy style, with Sean, our lead guitar player. And Dave Ketchum just, he's such a solid drummer. He builds a foundation for the house that you can build a house on every time he plays the drums.
Yeah, and with that, I want to say thank you very much. I am so appreciative to finally have an opportunity to talk to you guys. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself. And if you would kindly do me a favor, I will say goodbye to you first.
Yes.
And thank you for being here. This has been Carl Dixon from Coney Hatch, and you are watching and listening to A Chat With on KPHR. And if you would, could you introduce the song and we'll play it for them?
Sure. Thank you, everybody listening. I'm Carl Dixon from Coney Hatch, and this is It's About a Girl by Coney Hatch.